This episode is brought to you by Pure Astrology Reading Cards. For more information, check out the link in the show notes. Welcome to the Starzology Astrology Podcast. I'm your host, Alison Price, and I'm here today with my good friend and co-host, Arwynne O'Neill.
Hello, Alison. It's great to be here again.
So nice to have you once more. So in this episode, we're going to be doing a listener's chart. We're going to give an example reading, an example high-level reading of a listener's chart who's actually sent her information into us.
Excellent.
Yeah. So I'm just going to give the chart details for anyone who would like to follow along. So this chart, the birth data is that it's 11:40 p.m. on February the 26th, 1970 in Farnborough in England.
All right.
So that is the birth chart, and it returns an ascendant there of 2 degrees Scorpio.
Ah, that's a good ascendant.
It is, isn't it? It's similar to one we might know well, right?
It's very similar indeed, yeah.
All right, so usually when I start doing the chart interpretations, I look at the balances. So these are the broad strokes. So we're going to look at polarity, element, and mode, because as good astrologers, we like to do that to get into the meat. So she actually has, her strong polarity here is actually the passive polarity, which she's got 5 planets within it. And this suggests that she will absorb things around her, and these can be both positive and negative impressions, and she will lean heavily on her understanding of what's really going on. Mm-hmm. So because it's the passive, it's a case of soaking things in, not necessarily being conscious that they're happening. Yeah. So they tend to do that as well.
Yeah.
And there can be a part where she accepts what others dish out, but in time she will reject what does not serve her.
Right.
So, therefore, other people may have the impression that she'll just take it and take it and take it, and then she'll stop it.
I could see that with a Pisces with Scorpio rising is only going to take so much and seem to be going along and just absorbing and taking it in, and then there's going to be a moment where
sucking it up,
where she snaps. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So it's I'm saying here that she'll seem to be easygoing and even a pushover, but
beware.
Oh yes, absolutely. This is not necessarily going to be there. And when you do actually encounter her standing up for herself, then you're kind of in the inner circle too. Yeah. Because otherwise she can't be bothered.
Right.
So that's an interesting point
absolutely.
too.
That's a great thing about Scorpio.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Because you've got Scorpio rising. Let's say it.
Yeah, exactly. The same exact degree, in fact.
It's so interesting that
serves me well.
Many of the charts we get as examples are in this generation, this age group, with this kind of thing. But it's interesting that you've got the exact same ascendant as Arwynne. And by the way, our listeners were calling this one Super Jupey, which I think is the nod to the Jupiter in the first house. Oh, for
sure. Jupiter in the first house, and also Jupiter ruling Pisces.
Yeah, it's a powerful thing.
It's a great name.
Yeah. So when we look at the elements now, water is the strongest element by a long chalk.
Yeah.
And it's actually standing strong. It's got 4 planets, which is 2 more than the next best. Therefore, it's strong. Yeah. And this will come through in her intuition and emotional side. Yeah. I would suggest that things have to feel right for her to be comfortable with people and situations. And it's essential that she pays attention to atmospheres and uses her natural intuition to keep herself safe.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I see that with a lot of, there's a lot of emphasis kind of on the first quadrant as well, the first house and 4th house. And that really talks about an interior life that's, that's the kind of the base of her identity.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. So she's probably able to read a room and get the vibe, feel the vibe, tune in, and put her finger perhaps on things that other people don't even notice, because we was more not watery types.
Yeah,
right?
Whether she uses that or not, because there is all that passivity. And we don't mean passive as in like the personality trait of passivity, but passive versus active planets, which is male versus female. Whatever.
Exactly.
But at the same time, then she has those generational planets in the 11th house, which is an interesting kind of dichotomy there, because it's kind of an offset to, I would be interested to see how that's
unfolding.
Yeah, exactly, in her sort of social life and how she chooses to express herself in the world. Because you could sort of interpret this as being a very interior focused kind of person. But
but there is definitely a social life going on.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And then if we just get onto the modes, the fixed mode is strong, which is kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. So when the fixed mode is strong, people are resistant to change. I can speak to this. And, but once they see the light, they will make the change and then get behind that new way of doing things. So things that have become entrenched within her life, and I don't want to necessarily talk about habits, but, you know, if we do it this way or we do that or we like this or we like that, she will stick with things because they're working rather than saying, let me try this, let me try that. So that will bring some kind of fixture to it. Because there's a lot of planets that are slightly rigid in that position. Yeah. So that's the mode section there.
Interesting. So watery but rigid. So it's like...
Yes. I know, right?
Is it like ice or is it... interesting.
Well, if we go with our Holy Trinity, it's water ascendant, water sun, and water moon. It's that icy one. It's the
solid water.
Yeah,
fixed water.
What are we saying? It's like the ice caps. You don't know what's there.
Yeah,
but
there's a lot going on underneath.
Yes.
Yeah,
and I think that's it. And we have seen what this person looks like, and looks a delightful looking lady. And but clearly there's a lot more to her than meets the eye initially. So that's kind of interesting too.
For sure.
Yeah. So then I went on to look for major aspect patterns, which is really the next thing that one would want to have a go at. And there actually aren't any. This is a chart without major aspect patterns. There are many aspects within it, but there's no T-squares or yards or anything, or even a stellium there. They look like there might be, but there isn't. There's just quite a bit of grouping.
Interesting.
Yeah. So if we go on to the ascendant, we've now got, let's just have a closer look at that. So we've got a Scorpio ascendant, 2 degrees. So this means she's got 2 chart rulers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mars and Pluto.
Mars and Pluto. Yeah. And so Mars is there in Aries. We'll come back to that.
Yeah.
And Pluto is in Virgo. So it's that generation as well.
Yeah.
And then there aren't any particular, the only aspect that's really making to the ascendant is the sun is trining it. So it's adding... a very nice sunbeam over there as well too.
Absolutely, a well-integrated personality.
And so Jupiter's also conjoined it, and the moon is, we're going to call that a long stretch of a conjunction, but Jupiter is actually conjoined that ascendant, so it's going to have a lot to say in a big way.
You're going to call that ascendant, are you?
We'll stretch it.
It's almost 10 degrees.
I know.
Mark your calendars, Alison.
I know.
And there is a conjunction over 9 degrees.
Well, just this once. We'll let this by just this once because it's on the ascendant. So just this once. Okay. Technically, yeah.
And sandwiching Jupiter, which is a really
yes, this is it. So Jupiter is there on the ascendant. And it's 3 degrees away. It's very close, right? Yeah. Now, do you have any planets on your ascendant? I can't recall. Yeah.
No. I've got my Mars is conjunct my descendant, so it's almost exactly opposite my ascendant. But I don't have anything in the first house.
Yeah. So we have this. So this Jupiter and this moon is going to shape her personality as well. Mm-hmm. What she's coming out, because your ascendant is the personality. It's what you show when you meet people face to face. So she's going to come across scorpionic.
Yeah.
And but Jupiter's there, so we're possibly an optimistic Scorpio. Yeah. And the moon is there, so we will be talking about deep feelings to start with. And this is...
I just got the most hilarious flash of like what could Jupiter conjunct a Scorpio ascendant look like? Mm-hmm. And yeah, this is such a weird... Okay, so if anyone has seen, obviously the new Beetlejuice is coming out soon.
Right.
And the mother in Beetlejuice, who was also Maureen O'Hara, I believe. Wait, no, Catherine O'Hara, who was also in Schitt's Creek as the amazing matriarch of the family with her crazy outfits, the Alexander McQueen sort of inspired.
Right.
Black, feathered headdresses and really tight,
distinctive,
crazy high heels and so it's like Scorpio but big personality Scorpio. I'm not saying that Super Jupey is like this, but I'm just saying that is if you want to picture what that could look like.
Yes.
Those are archetypes that could be interesting.
Yes. From what I know of her, she's over 6 foot tall.
What?
Yes, and hugely distinctive. I do have a photo I'll show you later.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Not to be missed.
I love it.
Yeah, this is not somebody who will fade into the background or be the mouse woman.
Yeah.
No, we've got Jupiter there. It's going to be optimistic. It's going to want to engage and all the rest of it.
It's interesting because I can speak to Scorpio rising because Scorpio rising, you would think Scorpio is like the detective. It's kind of like it wants to like lay in wait like the Scorpion and observe and collect knowledge about people to possibly use it against them or to use it to make friends in a slightly devious kind of way. But there's also, if you have Scorpio rising, you have the Leo on the midheaven, which is often what people kind of see as well. So you
also have the Leo midheaven, right?
There's that big personality that comes with Leo midheaven, even though you have Scorpio rising, which tends to be a little self-preserving and off-putting and kind of like a defense mechanism leading the charge. But then you also have this Leo midheaven, which I see as just like big hair, big personality.
And you do have the big hair. She has the big hair. Yeah.
Yeah. I try hard for the big hair. It's not natural.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's well, this is it. Your public persona is when you leave your front door, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's showtime.
Yeah.
That's Leo. It's showtime. I never see you in your pajamas out in the street.
I know. Yeah.
Not like some of us.
If I did, they would be nice pajamas.
Oh. Not some ratty old. No. Okay. Yeah, so there we've got those two planets in the first house, the Moon and Jupiter, which are themselves conjoined. And they're saying quite a lot about that actual ascendant. Yeah. So then if we looked at the Sun, which would be the next thing.
Yeah.
She has the Sun in Pisces, 7 Pisces. So this is very much, it's trining the Jupiter, it's trining the Moon, it's trining the ascendant. She wants and needs are working together.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a hidden agenda here, even though it's Scorpio.
Yeah.
Once you get past that initial...
I think of Scorpio rising as just a filter. It filters out the weak, the people who are too sensitive, that can't handle
who are not worthy, perhaps.
Maybe not worthy. People who don't want to look a little deeper below the surface.
Yeah.
It's a great filter. Yeah.
So I think too, with the Sun being in the fourth house, which is the house of parents, she would have had a good relationship with her parents, her mother and father, and so on.
And also with that trine, that does speak to like a sort of a happy childhood, a happy,
I think so.
Family life.
I think so.
As happy as any family can be, right?
Exactly. And then the Sun there is conjoined the North Node. So this is, of course, her destiny.
Yeah.
So when it's the Sun, I believe that you are in control of your destiny.
Yeah.
And you have to bring the spotlight onto it yourself.
Yeah.
Because that is the key word there for the Sun is self, and the destiny is the North Node. So
that's so interesting. I don't know about you, but I don't see the Sun conjunct the North Node all that often.
No.
I mean, you see a lot of squares to the North Node. I mean, there's been entire books written about that. But statistically it's unlikely, but it's just, I can't recall the last time I've seen that.
1 in 365 charts will have it. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
But it really is speaking to the fact that she is in charge of her own destiny.
Yeah.
And even though she people may want to lean on her and make her do this, do that, because that's how they tend to be. But once she puts her foot down and knows what she's doing, she's just going to go for it, and she will create her own future.
Yeah.
Which is, a nice thing, really.
Yeah.
Without relying on other people.
Yeah.
And then because Mercury is actually there, but in Aquarius, so that would be the morning rising planet. So we can assume that she's got some good conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Probably a lot of interest. I don't know. Is that yours as well, Mercury?
No, I mean, my Mercury's in Virgo.
I see.
In the 10th house. So that's like...
But it's not your morning planet then. No, because you're not a Pisces. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So, that's one of the most common, because in 33% of charts that will be the morning planet. But it gives people the ability to chit-chat and jibber-jabber and communicate on all levels, whether it's lightly or deeply.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I think also for our semi-beginners or intermediate, it's always good to remind everyone that Mercury is never more than one sign away from the Sun. And so it's always interesting. Quite often you'll find that it's Sun and Mercury are in the same sign.
Yes.
Statistically, I don't know the number, but it's a lot.
Yes.
And so it's always interesting to note when it isn't, what sign is it in?
Yes.
Especially if it's something like Pisces and Aquarius or Pisces and Aries, where they're so
very
different. So very different.
Very different.
Yeah.
This is it. So there has to be a lot of I want to call abstract talking and concepts going on and conversations, perhaps,
Yeah, it's one of those things where like a vast array of interests and a really sparkling, interesting kind of conversationalist. Like once you talk to this person for maybe like an hour or 45 minutes, then all of a sudden the deeper levels come in and it's like, oh, this wow, we've entered the multiverse now.
This is it. Because let's face it, with Scorpio rising, you're not going to see the true person to start with. Right. You're going to have to earn your chops basically to get through those layers to get to the core of this person.
But with this person, it'll be worth it because there's a lot of really interesting stuff going on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so let's turn our attention to the dispositor tree because we do love that. We did an episode on that. We do love that. So, fortunately for Super Jupey, she has a final dispositor tree.
Nice.
So this is a powerful one, and there is a diagram I want to say. If you click through on the show notes into the blog post, all the diagrams and the charts are all there that we're talking about here.
Excellent, yeah.
So I did this dispositor tree. So what we've got at the top, I'm just going to go through it so we're quite clear. So Mars is in Aries at the top. Now, of course, Mars is the chart ruler.
Yeah.
It is prominent in this chart. And it's we haven't got to that yet, but it's in the 6th house.
Yes.
And so in the dispositor tree, I put a yellow circle around it because it's the chart ruler.
Yeah.
And then below Mars, we've got Chiron in Aries, Jupiter in Scorpio. Hello, Jupiter. And then the moon in Scorpio. Hello, we've just spoken about these two planets.
Yeah.
And then Jupiter happens to be a gateway planet. You don't come across it often, but here we have it.
Yeah.
So below Jupiter, we've got the Sun in Pisces, and that actually has a trine. That Sun trine Jupiter that we've just spoken of is right here in this tree.
Yeah.
So that's a powerful link there. And then also below Jupiter, we've got Venus in Pisces, which is just delightful, and Neptune in Sagittarius. So these are the three planets within Jupiter's signs. And that makes Jupiter a gateway high up in the chart. So once more, this planet, Jupiter, is important.
Yeah.
Apart from Mars, and Jupiter's the next up most important planet here. And then there's nothing below the Sun, there's nothing below Neptune, and then below Venus we've got Saturn in Taurus and Uranus in Libra.
Yep.
Below Saturn we've got Mercury in Aquarius.
Yeah.
And then way down at the bottom on the 6th line we've got Pluto in Virgo. So Pluto's the other chart ruler.
Yeah.
But this tree tells us that Mars is the dominant chart ruler. There's no question about it that Mars is going to be where the action is, where it's all happening. And we didn't really speak about it because it's in her 6th house.
Yeah.
So we would assume that she's paying close attention to exercise, diet, and health.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah.
Pets, I would assume. Yeah. And I do happen to know she has 3 cats.
Nice.
So...
Those are like well-loved cats.
I know. Doesn't this sound familiar?
Maybe.
Maybe.
I love that Mars in Aries with all of the other Pisces and all the stuff like where we're talking about like this is not a pushover, blah blah blah. Well, Mars in Aries, no, she's not.
Not a pushover. Yeah.
No, this is a tough.
Tough. I don't want to say a tough cookie, but
I mean, that's a good thing. Yeah, like
it's
badass goddesses, right?
Yes.
This is a badass
exactly.
goddess.
So this is someone, Mars in Aries is someone who will take action, is never on the couch, doesn't need to get off the couch because they're never on the couch.
Yeah, what is the couch? Yeah.
Exactly. If they're not doing the stairs, they're probably pushing weights or jogging up a mountain
the couch
or something.
Is for the cats.
Yes, probably. Whereas other people, who we've got Mars in other signs are on the couch for sure and have multiple couches to be on. But... because I often say that Mars is the planet that gets you off the couch. Yeah. But when it's in Aries, it is already pumping the blood round, breaking a sweat every day. This is the way to access to this energy.
Yeah.
And it can turn into arguments if you're not careful or fighting. Yeah. But if you do the exercise to move your body and break the sweat, that gets it out.
Yeah. And I think it's been a long time actually since I quoted Joe Rogan, but he says, and maybe controversially, I don't know, and I don't know what's controversial anymore, but he says, I don't know anyone who works out every day who is depressed. And depression is a big can of worms and blah, blah, blah. But it is true that just working out and getting your blood pumping, especially for someone who has this sort of fiery energy in your chart, is so important for your just everything.
Doesn't it like release endorphins that make you feel better?
I mean, on top of all of the other reasons to work out, to eat well, to exercise, even if you're just going for a little walk every day or going, for a swim or walking around your like, we live in a high rise, and someone in our building had some sort of condition, and this is a couple of years ago, but I used to see her, and she had an oxygen tank, and she would, just for exercise, walk around the square of the floor that we live on. Right. You could walk around this entire floor, and she would do that like several times a day. And when I was recovering from one my elective, like, let's say, nose job, but anyway, I would see her, and we would kind of like, nod to each other, but hers was much more of an important condition that she was recovering from. But yeah, like anything you can do to just walk a little bit every day or do something. Yeah, it's so important. It's vitally important. I mean, we didn't evolve to sit on couches, as comfy, as wonderful as couches are, and as wonderful as prestige TV is. And there's a balance, right? Like, I wouldn't say don't watch TV, don't sit on. Of course, sit on the couch. My God, I work from home. Like, there's a lot of couches. Yeah, there's a lot of sitting going on. Yeah, I mean, we have a wonderful, setup. But yeah, it's more important than ever to make a point to be active, because it's so easy not to be in our modern life. And I know you take the stairs, so you're walking up 23 flights of stairs. Do you do that every single day, or 3 times a week? What would you say? Okay, so what I do when it's raining, I mean, I love to be outside and roller skate. That's my absolute first choice for exercise, is to be roller skating. This wonderful weekend that we had, it was like 20-something Celsius, glorious. In the 70s, whatever, and I was out skating every day this weekend. But I did the stairs today because it was a little bit cloudy, and we had to record, and so it was just whatever. But yeah, if it's cloudy, if it's raining, if I have some other stuff to do, I will do the stairs, and I do them like 6 times. I know, it's so gross. And here's my question then: do you do this exercise until you break a sweat, or do you break a sweat anyway on the first going up? On basically the second one, I'm pouring sweat. Okay, that's right. Yeah. Yes. So this is a function of Mars sweating it out and getting the energy out. Yeah, I mean, the most times I've ever done this, like I went, I had a very terrible day at work once a couple of years ago, very humiliating and awful conversation with my boss at the time, and I was so like angry and having an existential crisis that I just went up the stairs as many times as I could until I got exhausted, and I think I lost count, but I'm pretty sure I did it like 12 times. I will never do that again, but I wasn't even, it was just one of those things where I just had to keep moving, Wow. So if anyone lives in a high rise, I highly recommend it. It's not fun. I always have my audiobooks in my ears or a podcast, but it is excellent exercise. Stairs are good for you. I admire you for doing it. Yes, yeah. So that's basically our final dispositor tree, which is a powerful tree. I love how it's sandwiching like the Mars at the top and the Pluto at the bottom. Yes, right? Because this is also indicating that even though Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio, Mars is the dominant planet here. It's well positioned. It's highly well positioned. It's in its own sign. It's the only planet in its own sign, so it's getting a +5 on our count. And right below it, we've got this Jupiter, which is... This is a planet that would need to be further explored. If she was my client in front of me, I'd be saying, go to this Jupiter, dig into all of these aspects, find out exactly what this Jupiter means before you even look at other stuff in this chart. Make sure you know what Mars and exactly what Jupiter means in this chart. Yeah. So that's quite a dynamic dispositor tree. So, yeah. So then she did actually ask us, her question was something about... her future and what's coming up for her. I think she did mention business-wise, but of course we always look at relationship as well. Why wouldn't we? So I did cast a couple of forecasting things here. Clearly we can't go into everything in the time we have. So with her solar return chart, I cast the solar return chart. This is the one for this February 2023 that's just gone. And there's February 24 that's just gone a couple of months ago. And so with the solar return chart, you really want to pay attention to the sun's house. And in this particular case, it's in the second house of not just money, but values. It's self-worth and self-valuation. So that's kind of important there.
and it's actually in a stellium, so this doesn't happen often. So you've got Mercury could join the Sun, and the Sun could also conjoin Saturn, and Mercury's could join Saturn too. So you've got this stellium where the morning planet is also, again, once more Mercury, and it's all happening in Pisces, and it's all happening in the second house.
Wow.
So it's part of the solar return, and Saturn is there. Now, we haven't spoken about Saturn yet.
Yeah.
So in this particular solar return chart, Saturn is obviously in Pisces, and it's bringing, I want to say, discipline, hopefully, or sticking by the rules, or all those things that Saturn brings that are good things, rather than the things that are not good things from Saturn, which are depression and sadness and all the rest of it.
It's discipline and authority versus restriction and control. And,
yes.
Yeah.
So in this case, it would be self-control, where she's probably going to make some, I want to say, some personal bests in whatever it is she's trying to do. And if we look at career-wise, she should be looking towards what can be achieved this year up until next birthday in February next year.
Yeah.
So that's quite a good thing. And because Mercury's there, this is what I would always say, you need to be journaling what's going on. Get your morning notes down about, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm aiming for, so you can then reflect on how far you have come during this period.
Yeah.
Rather than just it's going out of your head saying, oh, nothing happened this year, blah, blah, blah. But clearly she is going to be able to take things up a notch. What do they say? Take it to another level, because Saturn's there.
Yeah.
The other aspect, the only other aspect that the Sun receives in this solar return chart is actually a sextile to our friend Jupiter.
Ah, amazing.
So, of course, your sextile is your latent talents. It's your hidden talents. It's things that you don't necessarily tap into. But clearly, she's got a lot Jupiterian types. Yeah. So I don't know if this would. It could be travel. It could be religion. It could be philosophy. All those good things that Jupiter. It could be publishing,
studying.
Yes. Yeah. Studying something new, broadening horizons. Yeah. In all of those areas that interest her to start with, that would be something to lean into at this point to round off her personality and her character with this particular sextile in that solar return.
I love it. Yeah.
So that's just a comment there on that one. It's really quite nice. And in the second house, it would generally we would say income should be good, or she won't be struggling to this year financially, and there is the possibility that she will have excess that she can give.
Yeah.
And gift
and
to,
getting disciplined about finances.
Yes, well, yes.
Yeah.
Don't we all need that, don't we?
Yeah. It's great to have a little boost, knowing that you have help doing that, because it's such a
yes. And if you want to send $50 off to your cause, this is the year that she'll be able to say, yes, I can support them now and do something good there. So that's the solar return. So the next thing I looked at then was the secondary progressed chart. So I've got a bi-wheel here with the natal chart in the middle, which is how you always do bi-wheels. Yeah. And then the secondary progressed chart is on the outside. And the one thing, the one beacon, the one glaring thing in this chart is that the progress sun is going to enter her seventh house, leave the sixth house and enter her seventh house. And that will be in November this year, November 2024. Now, I know there's so many things, because therefore the sun has been in the sixth house for a good 30 years, and it's been work,
right,
doing the right things, what have you. But now it's going to shift, cross the descendant, and go into the seventh house. So it will oppose the ascendant.
Yeah.
But we all know that the seventh house
means,
What does it mean, Arwynne?
Exciting and new.
That's right. Meeting a life partner.
Yeah. Or that dreamy business partner, whatever.
Or the dreamy business. Well, even both. How about a good business partner, but someone who we used to say is marriage material. Yeah. So I would suggest that by the time November swings round, as the sun enters the seventh house, it will challenge her ascendant, which is herself, and there may be someone who enters her life then and touches her heart.
Yeah.
Because it's the sun.
And it's interesting that it is in opposition to that ascendant, because it's almost like, and I mean, we talked about generations. It's no secret this person was born in 1970. But if they are single, I don't know if they are, but if they are single, it would be a thing where people of a certain age have become so, sort of set in their ways often. And their standards may be so high, or they're just, it can't be bothered to learn a whole new person, blah, blah, blah. But yet we all crave love and acceptance and understanding, and that person who completes us. And it is out there. You just have to be open to it.
You just never know, do you?
No, and I can actually speak from not my personal experience, because as anyone listens to this knows, I have been with my partner for
a million years.
A millennium, for 26 years, blah, blah, blah. But I have a very good friend, my best friend actually, who's my age and who just met a wonderful man and has been with him for like 6 or 7 months now. And it's just this wonderful thing. And so and she was at the point where she was like, I don't even care anymore, surfing. I do know. Surfing and shopping and looking for people online, but, just kind of for fun and like whatever, just got kids. It can't be, like a focus.
Yes.
But then sure enough, this guy comes along at the dog park, no less, in person, not even on, an app. And that's how it happens, That's how it can happen.
Yes. This is it. And what do they say? When the stars align. So
exactly.
If she was my client sitting in front of me, I would be saying that by November, she's likely to meet somebody.
Yeah.
And it's within that first year, from this November to next November, she's likely to meet a significant person who touches her heart.
Yeah. And challenges who she thinks she is and what she thinks.
Yes.
What she thinks her personality and her mission in life is.
Exactly.
Because it's opposite, the ascendant.
And because the sun is actually going to enter there, and this descendant cusp is at 2 degrees, we haven't mentioned yet, but Saturn is actually in her 7th house natally, but at 4 degrees. So once the sun has entered that 7th house, it will stimulate this kind of partnership theme going on. And then within 2 years of that point, as it conjoins the Saturn, things could get cemented.
Serious.
Then listen to me.
Getting serious.
We'll wait for the invitation, but
we're just marrying her off right now.
I know. To find, so I would want to say that between November 20 this year and November next year, I'm not saying there's going to be one person. I'm saying there's going to be possibilities for meeting people who actually, it's a sun. It's not just any old planet.
Yeah.
It's hugely, it will never happen again.
It's a window of opportunity to
It absolutely is.
Someone.
So, just keep, doing what you're doing and
keep an open mind.
Yeah.
Keep an open mind. Yeah.
Keep an open mind.
Yeah.
So that is what's coming through now in the secondary progressed. And so we could also put that towards business and say, well, if she needs a business partner or two, as you and I tend to be now, though nothing's official, but we work together, collaborating.
For sure.
That would be something that would crop up as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the secondary progressed. And then I also cast the solar arc directions, which is what we always do. And so, of course, now the directed sun is in the exact same position as the progress sun. That is just repeating what we just said, because that is the same. However, we do have this, the only other planet of any interest in the directed chart is our friend Jupiter. How many times do we have to say this planet's name in this episode? I don't know. But it's actually moving from its home of Sagittarius, and it will be entering Capricorn in October 2024.
Wow.
Now, this is a sign shift that will never happen again. So Jupiter, with all its expansiveness and Jupiterianness, is actually going to enter Capricorn, which is Saturn's sign.
Yeah.
But it's creating a shift of, I want to say, of understanding of what interests her, of her thoughts on religion, philosophy, X, Y, Z. And going into Capricorn, she is likely to go back to her roots. Yeah. Even if she's dabbled with fringe religions, she will then go back to her roots. And I think that will occur. And this will be coming in during October as well. So again, this planet, Jupiter, is hugely important for her. And this is something not to be ignored. It's right there at 2937 already, Sagittarius. Wow. So it's within orb. Yeah. But by October, it will actually make the shift into Capricorn.
Yeah. Amazing.
That's the only thing that's actually coming out from the solar arc directions. Yeah.
Very cool.
Okay, so we've had a look at Super Jupey's chart. if we had more time, we could dig into all of the planets and all of the houses. But what we have done is we've highlighted where she needs to go next to explore her chart further.
Yes.
These are the planets that need to be looked at: the Jupiter, the Moon, the Sun.
Yeah.
And certainly that shift that's going to be occurring. And of course, Super Jupey, we'd love to hear from you in November or early next year to see what did unfold as that progressed Sun entered your 7th house. I mean, this is a great thing to have. I wish it was happening in my chart, right?
Yeah.
Right?
It's super interesting.
Yeah. There are many other things that could be discussed. We've got all the planets there in the 11th house. We've got the pot of fortune, maybe the vertex. We haven't touched on the midheaven. Only so much can be covered. But I hope that you've... will have found that this is an interesting interpretation. It's a high-level interpretation, and it's how we would start doing a chart interpretation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you can email us at starzology@gmail.com. If you go to the show notes on this podcast, you can now go to the very top where it says, text your questions to Starzology. You can click that and send us a text question, and we will get to it on our next time we're answering questions. And if it warrants it, we'll do a full episode, because some questions are much bigger, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Juicier than others.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we invite you to visit our website at starzology.com. And if you're not a member of our newsletter, please do get onto our newsletter. It's called the Starzologer. It goes out to over 1,270 people every Sunday. And it's actually growing by itself without me even paying much attention. So that's coming up as well if you want to keep in touch with the type of astrology that we're offering.
Yeah, and you can find us on YouTube at Starzology.
Oh, yes. So the episodes do go through to YouTube as audio only, but that's great.
And if you want to follow Arwynne's blog, you can find her
Absolutely.
at MissPink.net.
MissPink.net for Arwynne, and Arwynne blogs and chats about current things.
Everything.
All sorts of things of interest, and what she's up to and what she's doing, and movies, books, and what have you.
Yeah.
So do follow Arwynne there. That's MissPink.net.
Yeah. MSPINK.net. Yeah.
Yeah. All the links are below the episode.
Yes.
So, Arwynne, thank you so much for joining me again today to do our example chart. I really appreciate you being here.
And thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Thanks so much for getting this far through the episode. I just want to take a moment to tell you about the two main options of my astrology services. So the first one is coaching. If you are an aspiring astrologer, and by that I mean someone who's perhaps a hobbyist astrologer, or someone who's learning astrology, or a student, or you've got a few books and you've been doing it for a while, but perhaps you need a little bit of help to bring it all together, then maybe getting some astrological coaching from me would be the answer for you. The astrology coaching I offer is a 1-hour session on Zoom, and it's tailored to answer your particular questions. For example, if you have issues with natal chart readings, we can go there. Or if you're having problems working with your forecasting, we can go there. Or even basic astrology stuff, or even getting yourself organized for your astrology business. The idea is that astrological coaching will answer your particular questions. It's tailored specifically to you and where you are in your astrological journey. And I'm happy to help you out with some guidance about how you can get going, what to focus on, and what to dismiss. So that would be the astrological coaching for people trying to learn astrology. The second astrological service I offer is consultations. So this is for someone who perhaps doesn't know anything about astrology, but they just want to have their chart read or get their chart done. Call it what you will. So once more, this is a 1-hour consultation over Zoom. I will interpret your chart, tell you about the main features, tell you about where the energy is flowing, and all the rest of what is entailed in a thorough natal chart interpretation. I can also add in some forecasting in there too, bearing in mind we only have 1 hour. So just in summary, I've got coaching for people who want to learn astrology, and I've got consultations for those who want to get an astrology reading done. I'm Alison Price from Starzology.com. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.